The commentary box in the game of cricket is now generating a lot of controversy. It should not have been that way. There was a time when there were commentators who had never played even a first class cricket match, but they were commentating. Why? Because of their understanding of the game. They were fans, they had followed matches, they had read about the history of cricket and were competent enough to make a point. That era is over. Now you have former players who have come into the com box and they are supposed to be more incisive, clever, bring in their enormous reputation into play, their match experience, all that wisdom and experience. But there are issues now. They have this experiment has run into problems, and there could be a couple of reasons why, and I want to highlight that in this take today. Let's take Sanjay Manjrekar because he is the immediate trigger. Sanjay Manjrekar was axed by the BCCI and he was removed from the commentary panel because there were a couple of points on which there had been some open disagreement where Sanjay is concerned. The first instance obviously was when he took on Harsha Bhogle in the commentary box, and I was listening to it that day. There was a particular issue, and all that Harsha had said that day was that let us take the opinion of some of these players, no harm done, and then we can probably arrive at the right decision. Sanjay said there is no need to take any opinion. Once something has been asked to be followed, it should be followed, and there is no need to take any opinion. Harsha disagreed. Then Sanjay hit him with a big one on the chin, and he said that it depends on how much cricket one has played, whether it is first class cricket, test cricket, whatever. So that created a lot of ripple. He got trolled, and it was a bit of an unfair comment because Harsha is one man who has followed cricket for so many years, and I don't need to speak about how much of cricket Harsha knows, but he's obviously a big name in the com box. So that was point one. Second was, well, not exactly in the commentary box, but Sanjay was probably giving an interview to someone in the media, and he came up with this comment that about Ravindra Jadeja, that he is not in favor of bits and pieces players being used. It does have a certain variation, but the timing and the way it was said probably rankled Ravindra Jadeja a lot. He came up with a tweet saying that he's had enough of Sanjay's verbal diarrhea. He's played more cricket and scored more runs than Sanjay, so Sanjay should back off. This created quite a tense atmosphere. Obviously, the team may have conveyed his displeasure, and Sanjay was sacked. He's now trying to get back into the IPL com box, has written a mail which was apparently leaked. And again, he's trying to explain, and he came up with an interesting point saying that there are iconic players, and if you don't praise them enough, then their fans think that you're being disrespectful. Now, this was again an unnecessary line. I don't agree with that line at all, because the job of a commentator is not to really go on praising somebody who is an iconic player. We all know what iconic players are all about. It is to deepen the understanding of the game. Speaking of Harsha Bhogle, Harsha himself got the chop because he was being hypercritical at a point in time. India had beaten Bangladesh by a wafer-thin margin and scraped through. So Harsha spent quite a bit of time praising the Bangladeshis, and the Indian team was by and large was ignored by him to a particular extent. Mr. Amitabh Bachchan himself tweeted saying that he was quite disappointed with the way this whole thing was being treated, and although he did not name Harsha, but there was obviously an oblique reference saying that why should commentators speak about the side which has lost instead of the side which has won, which is India. Dhoni hit the nail further when he retweeted that comment and said nothing more to add. That was the end of Harsha Bhogle for a while. Of course, he's now back in the com box. The DRS issue has also triggered a lot of heat. There was a time, even you remember, that India was not in favor of the DRS being implemented, and probably one of the very fewer teams which had opposed the DRS. There was an open confrontation at that point in time between Nasir Hussain and Ravi Shastri in the com box. Nas at that point said very clearly that he would speak his mind. He's being paid to speak his mind, and he will not back off. There was There was a lot of counter argument going on over the DRS issue. The matter died down, but this point remains that if two commentators are not in sync, or if they have some very sharp disagreements, to what level can that be escalated? In my book, Nasir Hussain and Michael Atherton today are two of the finest commentators because they can speak their mind. They do not seem to offend too many people. And at the same time, they don't back off. So the job of a commentator is not to play the role of a cheerleader and clap their hands with glee when a great shot is being played or a wicket is being taken. Please remember that as a fan of the game, you are watching the game the same frame as the commentators are. So their job, their challenge is, since they are paid to sit there, they need to use their experience to add on more and not just say, oh, what a great shot it was, what a magnificent cover drive, what a fantastic wicket. So they have to go beyond that. So that is a larger part of the challenge. Michael Holding had an issue because Michael Holding has been openly critical of umpiring standards and also of players. But he's a guy who has never backed off. So before the beginning of a World Cup, he was told through a mail saying that he should go easy on the umpires because he was being hypercritical. Those were the days when the DRS had come into play, and in any case, Holding never backed off where he felt that the umpire was taking a wrong call or was not good enough. So he sent a mail back saying that either he does his job, otherwise why is he there in the com box, and he never backed off. Michael Holding is still doing his job. In the earlier era, Richie Benno, Bill Laurie were two great names, and if you remember the trio of Benno, Laurie and Tony Gregg in the com box of Channel 9, they created a lot of magic together. Benno has been praised enough, he's revered, and the reason behind that is that he would also point out certain deficiencies in a person's play. I remember there was a young Pakistani bowler who was blinding fast, and he and Tony were in the com box. The guy was all over the place. So at one point, Benno says, Tony, if someone can teach him how to bowl line, not length, he could just about play for a while. That guy didn't play much longer. But the way Richie Benno said, and what a profound comment that was. So these are instances which highlight how good a commentator is and what are the challenges before a modern commentator. Talking about the dugout, which Star Sports has introduced, I find that a great experiment because you have three commentators sitting there, and they talk a lot about technicalities. They give actual demos. There are graphics. So it highlights the game in a very different way. It deepens the understanding. It shows visually as to what is going right, what is not going right, where a batsman is concerned, where a bowler should be bowling, the pitch conditions, everything else. So it really adds value to the game. Towards the end, I would like to say that where the role of the modern commentator is. So the requirements are, you need to add to the narrative, be critical yet gentle. You have to deepen the understanding of the game. It's a fantastic game. So for you to just describe in nice words as to what is going on is not good enough. That era is over. So it's a bit of skating on thin ice. Technicalities need to be highlighted. A lot of people now understand the technical aspect of the game. That needs to be highlighted more and more. And last but not the least, please do not show any contempt for people who are part of the game, who need not have played even first-class cricket or test cricket, and yet they have a very sound understanding of the game. They have read about the history of the game, they've followed the game. So please respect them. That is all that is required. And in the end, the viewer is looking at commentators who can speak their mind, who do not offend, and yet heighten the excitement.